Hello, and welcome back. On this episode, we'll be going into the sturdy junk box. I've been conflicted on making this one because, to my knowledge, there isn't anything valuable inside the sturdy junk box. I believe that the entire purpose was just for leveling your lockpicking. However, I didn't want to leave a gap in this series because of that, and leave someone else with the question on if the sturdy junk box is worth farming. As such, we can already mark a few things off the list. Is it worth farming? Probably not. But we can still go over where to farm it and open up some boxes to see if maybe I'm wrong. And to keep things interesting still, I've went ahead and farmed some other junk boxes, and we're also going to open a few lock boxes. In keeping with previous format, we're going to head on over to my other alt and show you how I farmed all my sturdy junk boxes. And here we are in Zul'Farrak. Now this dungeon I found very good for farming the junk boxes due to its size, which makes it a shame because of the invaluable nature of them. But the dungeon itself is a rather large loop, so if you were seeking to farm them, then you have the advantage that you can make a loop and you might not have to reset, so you won't have to worry about dungeon lockout. Now, since we've been over it's not very valuable, I'm going to run through the entire dungeon, show you a loop real quick, how I do it, and then we'll get to opening some lockboxes. I don't bother actually progressing the dungeon through to opening this part because it's just really a waste of time for efficient farming. But don't let that stop you if that's what you want to do. Same with the zombies here. There's really no point in digging them up. You can pickpocket them, but they usually despawn before you can actually get them. Now at this point you can go back here to Antu Soul, but I usually don't because mobs are just too spread out. If you find that you're making that loop too quickly and you want to add a couple seconds, then you can definitely go down that way to help with lockout timer. And you can see that some of the mobs have already reset their pockets, so you can go for an infinite loop. but it is a bit random, so these guys haven't reset theirs yet. You can see from that quick run that we got 14 of the junk boxes and a few classic gems. The rest of it, not really worth noting unless you want some exotic cookbooks. How to Serve Man, Twilight Zone episode. So let's get these sent over to Ludi and get them open. We're back over on Ludi, and you can see that we've got quite a bag full and more in the mail. So let's get into opening them. Nothing so far, but we do still have some in the mail. Looks like my recording opening the rest disappeared, but as you can tell, nothing crazy showed up. So we got a Star Ruby, an Aquamarine, and invisibility potion recipe, which I don't believe sells for a whole lot. So now we're going to get into these battered and worn junk boxes, and then we'll open up these lock boxes at the end. In that last one, we did get a Ring of the Moon, but these vanilla rings usually don't have much use. So we're going to start out with a couple ornate bronze lock boxes. And we got a decapitating sword and shimmering boots. Next comes strong iron lockbox. There was another ornate one in there. And then we have Corium. And finally a Laystone lockbox. I'm going to turn on TSM real quick, see if any of that has value. We'll start off with this decapitating sword, and it doesn't look like it's got a lot going on, but it does have a nice look to it. I see why these boots don't have a lot of value. Murph Star of the Quick Blade. That's nifty. Archer's Cap. And then this tuning knife has over 1,000. That's an interesting shape. These go with the boots. Crystallized ebony wand. Looks like a paintbrush. Dark crest breastplate. Now that actually looks pretty cool. I like that. And that has about 5,000 currently on the auction house. Looks pretty neat. And Host belt boots. I could see those going along pretty well with some transmogs. But sadly, none of that stuff on the end came from any of the junk boxes. They just were from some lock boxes I had lying around. So it looks like the sturdy junk box gives you more raw silver, but I haven't been able to find anything of value, and the only thing that we actually got was this invisibility potion recipe. So I don't recommend farming these. If I had a tier list so far, it would be at the bottom. But next week I have a farming option that does take a little bit more dedication for guaranteed payoff. So tune in then, and remember, if you like this content, to like and subscribe.